What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Daily Nonsense. On today's show, we are going to be talking about an update for SGC and some updates in the Topps Chrome product that just came out. We are now just one day away from the National Sports Collectors Convention out in Chicago, and my tip for today is going to be have a big breakfast and prepare yourself to probably skip lunch while you're at the show. There's a lot of great places to go get dinner after the show, but the food at the venue can be okay. So bring some crackers, bring something to munch on throughout the day, but just know that it's going to be very busy and prepare to not eat lunch while you're at the show. So one of the struggles sort of doing a daily show where you're kind of talking about breaking news from that day is that when you do a show, there are updates that come through about stories, and then you maybe have to do an update. And that's what we're going to do here. So, I mean, Topps Chrome, we actually are going to do another update of that. But the big update that I think is going to come through that came through towards the back end of when I was recording the last episode and that I didn't talk about with SGC was that the president of PSA, Ryan Hoge, actually did an interview. He's done interviews with Sports Card Nonsense, which was phenomenal. I definitely suggest going to check that out on this channel. And he was saying some interesting stuff about what the plans are for SGC. So SGC, they're planning on scaling some of the stuff back. So some of the employees are actually going to go from working for SGC to PSA. And some of the reasons were that SGC just sort of struggled to scale after it was bought by PSA, which, if I'm going to be honest here, it just seems like PSA is sort of trying to cope a little bit here with they bought one of their biggest competitors and they didn't really necessarily want the brand to 100% succeed because it's a competitor. And sure, now they own the brand, but it's they want everything to be PSA. I mean, PSA, they're doing stuff with there's a repack product they're doing. They're trying to grow just like a lot of other companies in this industry. And I don't know if they're trying to grow in areas maybe where they don't need to, but it seems like they kind of did something similar to when Fanatics came in and they bought the MLB license, and that stopped Topps from really being able to go public. It seemed like PSA came in and they said, we're going to buy SGC because they're essentially the number two competitor. Sure, Beckett and BGS will probably always be synonymous within this industry. And I would be honest, there's probably no way that PSA would ever buy Beckett, because I think the Beckett branding and PSA branding just are so not the same that I don't think it really works. With SGC, it sort of works. They grade similar cards, and they were citing some numbers where PSA year over year had grown 18% and SGC had only grown 3%. I mean, if you look at what they did with GameStop and you look at a lot of the things that PSA has done, it is kind of obvious why PSA has grown that much and SGC maybe hasn't. SGC has still been sort of running as an independent brand even since PSA bought it. So overall, the demand for SGC, I think still will be there. And they were saying, PSA was saying that they are expecting there to be a scale back of SGC, which in theory, yeah, but there's also you can't just say that you want to scale something back and then the demand is going to scale back. Now, maybe if the demand isn't there, other than these the 18% and the 3%, I mean, maybe that is why they're saying, well, this is why we're planning to do these things. But if there is a demand for SGC, I just don't exactly see why PSA would want to scale back the demand, or why they would want to scale stuff back. It doesn't make, I don't know. I mean, I guess from a business perspective, if you have the opportunity to buy a competitor and sort of squeeze them out of the market, maybe that does make sense. I said with the news release that I didn't think SGC was going anywhere. I thought SGC was still going to continue with Peter Steinberg stepping down. I thought that SGC was still going to be one of the biggest brands in this industry. I didn't really see there being much change, but apparently there is going to be some changes. I think they said that PSA is going to take over some of the space in the offices that SGC has in Florida as well. So, yeah, I mean, those are just some of the updates. I think it's interesting there. There's a bunch of things. And again, as these stories develop a little bit more, as maybe more stories are coming out, I'll talk a little bit more about it. But that's just some of the stuff, some of the updates, at least from sort of some of the stuff that I was not expecting when I first originally talked about the stepping down of the CEO. So yeah, the other update, like I said, is going to be with Topps Chrome again. I mean, there's just it's Topps Chrome season. The updates are kind of keep rolling through here, and one of the things I want to talk about is actually going to be the MVP buyback. Now, you may have seen people talking about this, and I didn't really understand what the big deal was. But there was an Aaron Judge injury, which, like, if you looked at the MVP odds before the Aaron Judge injury, which potentially means that with Aaron Judge's injury, he may potentially miss the rest of the season. So if you looked at the odds before his injury, I think Aaron Judge was like minus like 500 odds to win an AL MVP. And then I think Shohei Ohtani is like minus 1600 or something, which means like it would be absolutely insane. An injury is really the only thing here that would be able to take over what has happened. So now Judge is still second in the MVP race in the AL, and from an odds perspective, I think Cal Raleigh jumped him, and now he is like minus 110, and I think Judge is plus 130. Cal Raleigh having a phenomenal season. There's nothing to take away from Cal Raleigh. The issue potentially here is that Cal Raleigh is not in Topps Chrome for some reason. Like, I don't really exactly know why they wouldn't include him. I mean, the foresight to not include somebody who, which granted, this is maybe a random season for him to hit all of these home runs. Like, I think he's already hit 40 so far this season. And if Judge is out, there's no way that Raleigh doesn't win the MVP. And I think the issue we're potentially going to have here is that, Shohei Ohtani, he's in Topps Chrome. So that's great. But Cal Raleigh is, he's not in this year's he's not in the first edition of Topps Chrome. He potentially will be in Topps Chrome Update. I would imagine there's no way, based on his season, there's no way he's not in Topps Chrome Update. But I'm just confused about why he wouldn't be in Topps Chrome. So like, this MVP buyback program that Topps came up with the past couple years, I don't know. I don't want to say it's ruined, but in a way, it's like almost the whole point of it is to get some of these base cards of the MVPs. And it's like, but you're not going to have the potential AL MVP in a product where you would have the buyback. I don't know. That seems like not great foresight, whatever it is. If I'm going to be honest, the other updates here with the Topps Chrome product is that the redemption for the Judge Ohtani MVP Logo Man autograph card has been pulled. It's pretty interesting that a lot of those cards have actually been pulled already. That one got pulled. The Chris Sale, who won the Cy Young last year, got pulled. The Paul Skeens, who won Rookie of the Year last year, got pulled also. So we have seen that those are going to redemptions, and I don't know. I'm still sort of on the fence of how I feel about the redemptions versus putting the actual cards in the packs. I understand that Topps wants these cards to get good grades, and that's probably why they're putting these redemptions in versus putting the cards into the packs. It feels like they're almost taking away one of the great things about opening packs and pulling really cool cards. Like, sure, the redemption, you're obviously excited that you pulled the card, but it just feels like almost you get cheated in a way because you don't get to pull the actual card that you're getting out of the redemption from the pack, which, granted, these cards are newer concepts, so like maybe in the future they might change that. Like the Topps Chrome in the Topps Chrome update, they have all the redemptions for the debut patches, which, again, I understand they want these cards to get good grades and they want these cards to be given to collectors in good condition. And maybe that overtakes the potential of like a collector pulling a really cool card. And I don't know. It seems a little bit unfortunate that they're not able to. I don't think this is because they don't have the cards, because originally that's what redemptions were for. And one of the interesting things that Michael Rubin said was he was trying to get rid of redemptions, which I think from that quote, this is from a while ago. I think he's trying to get rid of redemptions of cards that of players that are not in the packs, that don't have the autographs already. So all of these redemptions are being pulled. It seems like they're going forward with this redemption system, which I think is okay. But hopefully maybe in the future they find a way to protect these cards a little bit and still able to put them in the packs without it being completely obvious that you're pulling one of these cards. Because that's obviously, I think that's probably one of the other issues of why they don't have these cards in there is because they're heavier. And if they're heavier, your people are going to be able to find them easier without having to open the pack. So that's probably one of the other reasons, if I'm going to be honest, of why they're doing the redemptions versus putting the full cards into these products.